know, a lot of people say that it's all about choice. And talk about choice and karma. There's another way of thinking about that people have to be aware of. This world, this life is like really freaking hard. If you're born, lots of people know my story, but I was literally born as a newborn baby into sexual abuse. It got found out when I was 8 years old and was taken to court. And they were told the judge that the first time it happened was first time they changed my bum as a baby. That's when it started. I would lose consciousness a lot to kind of make it through, to survive. Leave my body a lot. Had a lot of experiences on the other side. I always knew God was love. And nothing in this world ever made sense to me. And somehow in it all, I loved my abusers. I don't know why I was always showing why they were the way they were. And so that I could have understanding. And love made me have a lot of pain. And that's hard. Because I just didn't understand so many of the things people were doing. I want to talk about this karma thing. People say, I don't want to walk too much towards the traffic, but people say, sometimes we come into this life with abuse. Okay, I had abuse. I had so many people die in my life. The very first one I remember is the sweetest, kindest, most loving young boy, which was my brother 2 weeks before his 12th birthday when I was 13. And I know that kid was nothing but pure freaking love. He just wanted other people to be loved, feel loved, know they were loved. That's all he wanted. And he tried so hard. And out of everybody, he's the one who wound up passing away. Drowned 2 weeks before his 12th birthday. So, I don't know. That doesn't add up for me. And not only that, but I saw the suffering of a lot of family members. And it was obvious why they were the way they were. Whether they came out of abuse or whatever. It led them to things like drugs and alcohol and pain and anger and outbursts and anxiety and all that stuff. But I wasn't dumb. I knew where it came from. I knew they were hurting. Even as a kid. Yet, if it's other people who cause the abuse, why do people suffer for other people's abuse? Is that not the abuser's karma then that needs to happen, not theirs? So anyways, I do think about it though. I'm like, so I've experienced Source. Source has shown me that it's unconditional love. That it loves us no matter what, no matter how screwed up we are. And often it sets us free inside from hating ourselves, being afraid of God, so we can begin the healing journey. And we can have a knowing, but we're still stuck in a world. We're still stuck in a physical world that involves physical people who are fucked up and still want to judge you and still have expectations of you to be perfect despite everything you've been through. And despite knowing things in the spirit, you can still be fucked up. You can still have trauma in your body. I still get random anxiety attacks and breakdowns and feel really afraid to like lose people or ask for help or do anything that might upset anybody and cause loss or pain or whatever, because that pain was so traumatizing in me that I can't get my body past the fear of it to do anything else. And I guess that's where choice comes in. Is it really choice? I'm not conscious in the moment when I'm afraid to speak up, when my body's like tight, shaking, whatever it is. I'm not consciously being like, I'm not going to speak up. I'm going to be scared right now. I'm blah, blah, blah. In fact, it's often a reaction in the body before even a thought even comes along. So think about that. It's like chicken or the egg. What came first? The feeling or the thought? Honestly, energy is a feeling, and then we put thoughts and words to it. So what happens when there's certain feelings and stuff wired in your body, in your nervous system, in your muscle memory? And those feelings come, those physical feelings come. Maybe your voice tightens up. Maybe your body feels overwhelmed. Maybe whatever it is. Okay? And then thoughts come later from those feelings because it brings up memories and triggers your mind to go into protection mode. I recognize this feeling. I'm in danger. Let's put all the programming. Let's get all the programming going that was built into their brains that kept them safe in the past. Whatever that is. Don't speak up or you're in danger. Don't show yourself or be loud or be noticed or you'll be in danger. If you ask for what you need, you'll be abandoned. Or someone will yell at you. If you try something, you better try harder and harder and harder because it's never going to be enough. Like, whatever wiring you got put in your head, you know, as a kid to survive, to try and survive, to try to make sense of everything, still runs our life. And we're not always consciously choosing it. We're not consciously choosing it. In fact, lots of studies show that the majority of our life is run on autopilot, not choice. And becoming aware of our autopilots, the parts we're unconscious of, is a shit ton of work. It's not just in the moment you suddenly realize you have a choice. You usually, when you're in autopilot, you're in autopilot. And if that autopilot is wiring for survival mode, you're not thinking about it. It's your autopilot. You're going there to be safe because that's what your body learned was the safest it could be. Alright, so that on choice. And maybe a lot of people won't understand that because maybe they haven't gone through abuse to the extent that some have. And maybe some people have been able to work through it. And people have been able to be like, remember the specific event, which, by the way, you know, if there's brain damage involved from the abuse, which often, especially between the ages of 0 and 3, but anything before 7, there's brain damage from that abuse. They've shown brain scans of kids who were sexually abused that had more brain damage or equivalent brain damage to a child in a severe car accident. So, and you grow up with different parts of the brain becoming bigger and smaller from that trauma, and you have a different brain than than people who didn't go through that stuff, like an entirely different brain. So like your alert center is much bigger, your comm center is much smaller, just a whole bunch of stuff. And yet people think that don't understand, that aren't in your body, that aren't in your brain, think that they can judge you because they can make a choice. So you can just make a fucking choice. You can just make a fucking choice to not be afraid. You can just make a fucking choice to speak up to all these things. It's not true. It's bullshit. And you don't know what you're talking about. So, what is the point of all these people? Back to the karma thing, I guess. What is the point of all these people that come here right out of the get-go and into severe traumatization, being wired to experience the world of hell, and then be attracted to that hell, trying to resolve it for the rest of your life and recreating hell for yourself over and over and over again because of the fucked up wiring you got when you were a baby, a kid, whatever. What is the point? What is the point of the good people who come here and just die? What is the point? What is the point of the abusers that come in that are severely abused and then become angry abusers? What was the point of that? What is the point of it here? Right? What's the point of it? So if someone comes here and gets abused, is that their karma? And then if their trauma and all that causes them to become angry and abusive, even if they say they're not going to or whatever, they just, it happens, then was that the other person's karma that got abused as well? And then that person, and so on and so forth? What about those who stop the abuse and don't become the abusers, but just kind of wind up staying the abused and the victim their entire life, just one thing after another, allowing themselves to be abused because they were trained in that from childhood? What about those people? What's the point? If everything here is to return us back to love, source, and who we are, maybe it's not karma. If you think about it, maybe some of us came here and knew we'd die, or knew we'd be abused, or knew we'd be fucked up people in this world. And maybe on some level we were okay with it because we saw the expansion that would come from it. An expansion, you say. Sometimes it's expansion for the abused person. I mean, I'm still messed up, but I've expanded a lot in my thought, especially from the death of my brother and all my family members that died. So it did expand me and grow me in ways that never would have happened if I didn't have any of that to make me extremely confused and have to figure out why or put me in such dramatic states that I never experienced the love of Source in the ways that I did. So, so what if those people came here to expand us? What if all the messed up people in the world came here to expand everyone that would hurt and abuse them? Everyone that would misunderstand and judge them? What if all the places we feel hate in our hearts and judgment and, holier than thou are righteous people looking up with their noses up, saying things like, it's your karma, or it's your karma, or whatever, right? What if actually we came here to expand you? To teach you how to love and not judge? To teach you how to teach you to expand your heart? What if my brother knew he was gonna die? And before he came, saw the possible expansion from it. And everybody that would experience that loss. And decided it would be worth our expansion. Rather than just us all having a smooth sailing life. What if people came and were abused to teach their abusers love? To help them face themselves? What if some people came here and knew something so bad would happen to them that the person who did it couldn't live with themselves and would change and become extreme catalysts for love? What if we knew that despite how fucked up we are, we'd have to learn to love ourselves and become catalysts for that kind of love? Because we're in a world where most people can't love the people they don't understand. And what if I'm here to be a voice for the broken? What if the broken person can't stop thinking of wanting to die? Can't stand themselves anymore? And they're learning to accept and love themselves and be okay with themselves the way they are. Even when nobody else can. What if they teach the world to love by loving themselves? Just as they are. All of them. Good and bad. And show the world that they can be worked with. And loved into healing. Over the world's fearful way of dealing with people by shaming them telling them it's their fault, by judging them. We're all learning. You know, some people are so uncomfortable with their own emotions, so afraid of their own emotions. It's like easier to judge someone for their emotions and tell people that their tears, their anxiety, their fears are childish. Instead of looking at that fear because they don't want to acknowledge that fear in themselves. They're like, look, I sucked it up. I sucked it up. I don't show my emotions anymore. I just ignore everything and live on fine. And they refuse to observe their own patterns in their own lives. How much they wind up alone or sabotaging themselves or hurting other people. Because they're afraid of their emotions. They're afraid of other people's emotions. Because they don't think their own emotions are safe either. I realize we just project onto others what we believe and project onto ourselves. It's really hard living in a world that doesn't understand. And it's really hard to know the unconditional love of Source. And be in a world of humans that don't get it. And even judge you for it. Like, if you can continuously love a broken person, sometimes people judge you for that. I mean, sometimes you have to accept that you can only get so far. But I think it's beautiful to love as much as you can and bring them to the peak of how far you can bring them, in showing them that they're safe, that they're loved, that they're valuable, that they're wanted, that they're not gonna be alone or abandoned, that they don't have to do things on their own. Sometimes you can go above and beyond. You can have grace, grace, grace. And still have love in your heart. And then it becomes a choice. You can only go so far before it becomes a choice between you and them. And can I make it through this and keep growing and keep growing and keep growing? Because honestly, I think that's what broken people are here to do. They're to help us grow and expand, not their karma. They're for us to help us grow into the love of Source that we are. And we can go, go, go and keep loving. Until we can't. Or until they make the choice that the choice of something else. Because maybe they can't let themselves be loved. Maybe they can only allow themselves to be loved to a certain point before they become uncomfortable or can't face their own blocks anymore. And for a time, you're no longer part of that journey. But you can hope that they'll continue to find that love elsewhere until they get it. Until their heart softens and lets that in, and also allows others to be themselves and love them without fear and judgment. I hope we can all learn to kind of come alongside each other and offer the bits of source love in us that we have and we have developed and allowed in us. I'm feeling like I'm getting lost in a lot of my thoughts now at this point. Feeling very up and down, feeling very emotional, feeling very angry. Really angry at other people's judgments. Really frustrated and hurt at people who can just judge and judge and judge to push people away and never ever look at themselves. And I think the suckiest part about that is that you see what they're creating and that they're going to create it again and again and again and continue to not see themselves. But it sucks when they push away people who love them. And you see that too. And we all do it. We all do it through misunderstanding. And sometimes I feel like the things we do judge in this world, this is, I don't know if you want to call this a type of karma, but I feel like the things that we do judge in this world, we may get a chance to experience for our sake. So maybe we judge the person who can't handle something and we think it's ridiculous or whatever, just suck it up, blah blah blah. Of course, we speak all these things from our own discomfort. And then one day we get to be on the other side of that so that we can understand why it was so hard for them to just do that. And then what happens is we expand, our hearts soften, we become more understanding, we have more love and compassion. That's what I mean by expansion. Hurt people, but they also expand us. So maybe some of us just, I don't know. I hope you know what I'm getting at. This video is getting a little long, but I love you guys. And I hope I give you some stuff to think about. Bye.